We're moving, we're moving. There we go. Not even 55.
Well, another episode of Jay Leno's Garage. In front of you see 3 Toyota Land Cruisers from the late 80s. This makes me smile because I remember these cars were brand new. I'm so old now. These are prized collectibles. They're 30 years old. Let's meet the man who collects them, Brian Corsetti. Brian, come on in, buddy. Nice to meet you.
Hey, Jay, thanks for having me.
I like the ruby red slippers.
Like
got the
that?
Judy Garland thing going there. Very
I'll click
cool.
them 3 times and then maybe we'll...
Yeah, maybe we'll get
some
something.
magic.
Maybe I'll get this right. Because you see, this is amazing to me because I do remember these were new and they just seem like used cars to me now. But now, to your generation, you're that much younger than me, these are highly prized collectible cars, aren't they?
I got my start in Land Cruisers because of the Catholic school carpool days. I was driven in one of these for 3 years during in junior high, and I just loved them ever since. And now I've got 12 of them. So
you have 12?
I have 12 of them.
Okay.
These are 3 of the 12, and I've just been restoring these for the last 3 years and all my life.
Was it only because you rode to school in one? I mean, did you like Willie's Jeeps or any of that stuff, or was it always just...
I love the Jeeps, Land Cruisers, the Wagoneers are also really cool, but for me, these were an inexpensive kind of classic that I could drive every day and also fix myself. Okay. Obviously the carbureted engine, moving up to the fuel injection.
Right.
Years ago I could never afford a 1969 Challenger or a 65 Continental. So these were my gateway into just getting my hands dirty under the hood. Sure.
Okay, so this is the earliest one, right? What year is
Yeah, this is a 1987 FJ60.
Okay.
This was in production from 1981 to 1987. In other countries, it was 1980 to 1993, if you're talking about Venezuela. But this was like the cult following. This took the FJ55, which was before this, to the next level. It had the air conditioning, it had all the stuff for the family wagon, right? Right, is what they did. But this FJ60 it's got the 2F engine, it's got 135 horsepower. Okay. The 2F engines from the FJ40s started in 1975.
4-wheel drive, or you lock the hubs?
Yeah, so 4-wheel drive, you hit a button on the dash, you put it in high or low, and then you lock the hubs.
Okay, so you have to get out and physically lock them.
You have to get out and physically lock them, yeah.
Did you have to do that in the 88 as well?
Yeah, all of them, all 3 of these are locking hubs, yeah. This is one of my favorites because it's got like 95,000 original miles. I bought it from the original owner. We did a full renovation on it without taking the frame off, or the body
new
off
paint,
the frame.
obviously.
Brand new paint. We stripped it down. It had the original paint on it, so it was actually in decent shape. But new paint. We obviously wrapped it in KO2s. The interior's all original. We had to do a couple of things inside, but like this is, I guess, a perfect example of what you remember of them rolling off the showroom floor back in the 80s.
And none of these are restomods. But
no.
I mean, you haven't changed the engines or the brake.
I'm like an original guy, so like I restore them back to what they looked like in the year that it was built. I think I would be more into the resto mods, but more of like the 55 Buicks or the the Thunderbirds.
And how long have you been doing this?
I've always been worked on cars. 9 months old, my dad had me in a go-kart.
Well, I guess what I'm asking is, when you first started buying these, I imagine they were reasonable, if not even cheap.
Yes.
But now
they're
people
a little pricey.
know what they are, and it's hard because you will buy and sell some of these, right?
That's right.
If someone's interested in parts or they want to get one, they could contact you.
Yes, that's
the profit margin gets shorter and shorter, smaller and smaller rather on your end.
Yeah, I mean the FJ60s are becoming more and more popular, so it's harder to get into one of these for what I used to be able to get into them for, but it's all about the experience, really. I mean, I'll sit here and work on this all day and be happier than going to work or something like that. You know what I mean? I mean, you probably feel the same way.
Now, the engine is not a V6, it is straight 6 now, isn't it?
It's an inline straight 6, that's right. Now, this engine was popular in Toyota and put Toyota on the map. The FJ60 was designed around the Chevy engine, 1939. In fact, a lot of people do this. They mod these out and put a small block Chevy in it.
Really? Can we open the hood? Let's see.
Sure.
It's under the dash here?
It's under the dash.
I like the 80s door handles.
You like that?
80s, yeah.
So yeah, the 2F engine's right here. It's a carbureted double barrel carb.
Right.
AC, the thing that's rare on these, believe it or not, are the tops of these water tanks.
Right.
And that water tank, which cleans the headlights.
Right.
That's
And
like,
these
that was
all,
like a new thing.
These crack and break, and
it's,
they
hard to, and
right.
they don't make them, so it's hard to find them
And what's the horsepower you said?
135 horsepower.
Okay.
Rear wheel, obviously, four-wheel drive, and it's got, I believe, 210 foot-pounds of torque at 1,800 RPMs.
And I imagine this must be one of the very last carbureted cars, at least in this country. 89 is just about the end of the road for carbureted, isn't it?
1987, the FJ60 is the last carbureted engine in the United States.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, for Toyota.
Yeah, gotcha.
These are hard, especially in California, to keep up with smog emissions and stuff. And
Right.
The problem that people run into this is the carburetor and the vacuum system.
Right. Now, you haven't gone through the motor. You haven't taken the motor apart, have you?
Well, so this has got 95,000 original miles, so there's not a lot you can do. I mean, the 2F engine's pretty much bulletproof, but we did replace all the seals in this. We did rebuild the intake, new alternator, things like that.
Right.
But not a full rebuild.
Okay, well, wow. Okay, obviously original radiator and everything.
Original radiator. And you know, when you get, I only deal with cars that are under 180,000 miles.
Right.
Once they get over 200K, then you're dealing with somebody might have, you know, off-roaded it and stuff. I try to keep it as a 1 to 2 owner vehicle and under 180,000 miles.
Okay. Now, are these getting harder and harder to find, or?
Well, they're getting harder and harder to find in good condition because the
Right.
one thing that they are notorious for is getting rusted out.
Right.
And once you get rust in these, they start eating at the frame, and once you deal with that, then it's you can't really replace that.
Hey, let's close the hood up. As I said, you can see the 80s touches, like the
door handles.
80s kind of door handle. And you say that's the original interior, huh?
Totally original. Everything's original.
Wow. Now, obviously, was that a lot of just scrubbing and shampooing?
Scrubbing, and then I have to find the exact material by either finding another.
Oh, so you replaced.
So the driver's seat, it's notorious for getting eaten up on the side.
Right.
So I had to find the material. I had to get a guy, you know, an interior guy to re-stitch it.
Okay.
So, but yeah, this in the back was all original. The driver's seat was the one that I had to fix.
And this is a manual car. Is that a 5-speed or a 4-speed?
It's a 4-speed, and I always joke, the FJ60, somebody says, what does 60 mean? And I'm like, well, it only goes 60 miles an hour.
Right.
It doesn't. It goes about 65. You're pushing 65 at 3 RPMs. So it wasn't a highway car.
Right.
But it's a 4-speed manual, and if you go to Venezuela or Australia, you've got your 4-cylinder diesel 5-speed, which is a very popular model. But this is what was offered in the United States.
So top speed was about 65. That seems a little slow for America.
Very slow.
Yeah.
But it'll pull anything out of the mud.
And this one here is basically the same body with different graphics. Is that correct?
This is a 1988, built in 1987, so it has a lot of similarities as the 1987 FJ60.
Okay.
Manual windows, stereo, things like that on the inside, but it is the new FJ60. It is a fuel-injected inline 6-cylinder. It's the 4.0 liter. This is 155 horsepower.
Oh, okay. So
they updated it. But this is the 4-speed automatic to where you could cruise comfortably at 75, 80 miles an hour.
Okay, so big improvement over that.
Much bigger improvement. Everybody liked these better because of the fuel injection. Right. A lot of people are taking the automatic transmissions out because it's hard to get an actual automatic transmission for these, and they're putting 5 speeds in them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you done any of those?
I haven't done any of that, but I am toying with putting it's the HJ61 5-speed, which is the Australian version, in an FJ62. I think that would be a great match.
Cool. I wonder how that would affect emissions, because you have to, this still has to meet emissions.
That's correct, yeah.
It's, at least in California, 1976 or earlier, you're emissions free. I mean, emission testing.
Yeah.
You know. Everything else the same, discs all the way around?
Disc in the front, drums in the back. Okay. I did update the tires, which are 31-inch KO2s, which are a super popular. It's one of my favorites. It makes the truck sit right. It handles great on-road and off-road. And they just came out with a radial tire that I'm looking forward to testing out as well.
Now, which do you prefer, the automatic or the manual?
Everyone asks me that, and I like driving this for fun on the weekends, maybe off-road, but this is a great daily driver.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Let's move over to a third one here. Is this sitting higher than the other two? Is it?
It's sitting a little higher because I've got an Old Man Emu suspension kit on it. I've got the shocks and stuff, the leaf springs all decked out, and sometimes I'll do that, especially on the FJ62s, the 2.5 inch lift on these with a 33-inch KO2 is one of the most popular setups.
Okay, and which engine is this? Same as that?
Same as this one, inline 6. It's the 3F engine, 155 horsepower with the 4-speed automatic.
Okay. The difference between this one and that one is what, besides the year?
This has a little bit more bells and whistles. It's got electric windows, stereo's beefier, and a bunch of other things. But this, for the most part, took it into 1990.
Okay.
The difference between a 1988 and 89 and 90 is that the rear seat belts in the back, they didn't have the rear seat belts in the back in this model.
Oh, okay, okay. And you repainted this one as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you painted all of them? I
paint them all. I go through, again, this is a 2-owner vehicle. It had the original paint on it. I got it out of Colorado in the dry desert. It has 0 rust on it.
Original color? Is this the original?
Yeah, all factory original, numbers matching Toyota color. And that's what I like to do. If the car comes, like I got 3 shades of gray for you. I wish I had 50.
Well, let me ask you a question. Hey, there you go. Then we've been having a whole different argument. That one. When you repaint them, it's an off-road car, so it seems like you'd be reluctant. I mean, paint costs what? Minimum 10 grand to paint these things, at least. Are you afraid to then take it off the road to sort of defeat its purpose? You know what I'm saying?
Interesting you bring that up. But so the price point in these, you can get into them and that's what my whole motto is. Like, I want guys to get into these without paying the ridiculous amount that some people are selling them. I know Jonathan Ward came on the show, real great guy. You know, I admire his work, but he's into a whole nother bracket, and he does great work. There's Legend 4x4, they do all that stuff, but they're in the higher bracket. These trucks have killer paint jobs, but you're not gonna break your bank on it. But then again, I'm not doing frame off restoration. They're low mile vehicles, so there's just some engine seals and stuff that I do.
Do you prefer this inline 6 to the more modern V6s? When did they switch to Did they switch to a V6 for these? I think they did, didn't they, later on?
They had a V6, and then they had the V8 that came out later, and then the GX 470, the Lexus, took over the V8.
Do you prefer this? I mean, a lot of people like the 6. It's smooth, it's torquey, just being inline, and has a certain,
I like the inline 6 and the performance, especially off-road. It's malleable. You can take it on-road and off. If I was to pick another engine, I would jump up to the V8. It's got more power. I mean, now you're talking a sports car SUV.
Is there a cutoff date for you? A Land Cruiser, nothing after 7, after 4. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, do you prefer these straight 6 models?
I only deal with 1981 to 1990.
Okay.
Those are the years that and I'm just getting into the HJ61s, but that's like the FJ60, but for Australia, Venezuela, and you had to ship them into the United States.
So not only collecting them, you also sell them, correct?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So people can buy these if they can contact you through the website.
Absolutely.
If they're interested.
I've got 12 of them right now. I'm not selling those, but I probably have a bunch more coming in soon.
How many is the right number to have? I'm curious.
That's a question I got to ask you.
Well, I know, but I don't have all the same car.
Yeah, that's true.
You see, they're all kind of different. This one drives different than that one?
Yes. This one definitely drives different than this because of the suspension upgrade.
Oh, okay. So
this is also lower mileage car than this.
Oh, okay.
But for the most part, they're the same car, yeah.
Right.
They drive the same. I'm into like the graphics. I like the paint job. I like being able to, I mean, I've only been actually selling them for the last couple of years, 3 years. I've always just collected them.
Right.
And until my girlfriend's like, look, we have a serious problem here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I'll get some advice from you later about how you handle it.
Oh, well, yeah. Does she think it's odd that you have 12 of these? See, I don't think it's odd. I'm just curious.
That's what I think. I was but she sat me down 2 weeks ago, and I think that if I wasn't on this show, I think this actually made it fly for a bit. Right. But then another year later, she's going to be like, okay, what are we doing?
Yeah. You will have 12 of these the day before the wedding.
But then the hardest decision will be which one am I going to drive off with?
I predict after the wedding you'll have 3.
You're probably right.
Honey, why do we need,
Yeah, there's 3. There's 12 of the same car.
Yeah, 12 of the same car. Yeah.
I think eventually I would love to do resto mods.
Right.
But it's I think I'm working.
No, I think you're doing it the right way because so much of this stuff. I mean, I love Jonathan Ward's things too. They're amazing. But you're looking at $250 minimum, $350,000, and consequently you're just limiting yourself to guys or women 50 and over who've got real disposable income.
Right.
I mean, to me, you pick something up for what, $15,000, $20,000, and you put 10 or 15,000 into it, and you have a collectible car.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, to me, it's the same car with a Chevy V8 with more horsepower. Is it any better? No, not really. It doesn't do anything any better.
Yeah.
It's just a little faster. So to me, I think you're doing it the right way. You keep enough of the original patina, and you just clean it up so it looks like, oh, a well-maintained automobile. I mean, the paint jobs are really, really quite nice. They don't look, you know, quickie $29.95 deals.
No,
you know.
no. That's one thing that I don't want. What I don't want is to sell a car to somebody and then all of a sudden, just because my painter didn't take out the back windows and stuff like that, it starts peeling in 2 years. That I can't have. You know? But you know, another thing is, to answer your question, Jay, is the great thing about the Land Cruiser community is that, you know, I'm always learning new stuff from them, and it's a community that I'm getting into, not trying to make money and all this kind of stuff. So starting off on this thing, learning everything about them, eventually I'll go to the next level.
Have you met anybody that has more Land Cruisers than you?
I don't think I have. I think I say Jonathan Ward would be the only guy.
Yeah, but so you have the most of all the guys in the forum.
I would, yeah, if somebody has more than 12, I would love to talk to them.
Yeah, I think you two would hit it off fantastic.
It'd be, then our wives would have another conversation about that.
Yeah, no, I'm just curious. I'm just curious.
What do you think, though? Like 12 Land Cruisers, that's a lot to you, or do you actually, you understand it?
No, I get it. But as I say, you will have 12 up until the day of the wedding. And
I'll remember that.
And then you get that, honey, what? And then,
And then
you have
the bad news.
You have the talk.
Yeah.
You have the talk, you know. That's all.
Fair enough.
But good. No, but it's cool. Because, and it's not like one is a tiny sports car and you need it up. I mean, they're all exactly the same. Yeah. I
didn't think of that.
Yeah. Here's the question you must get. Okay, you got 3 here. You had to sell 2. Which one would you keep?
Oh, I would keep this one.
The idea doesn't even look.
Yeah, I can't even.
Right. Yeah.
Because here's the thing. I look at this one. I love the decals.
Right.
Then I'm like, I like the decals on this, but I'm glad this doesn't have the decals.
Right.
Right. Then I look at that one. I'm like, that's going to be much more fun off road than this one.
Right.
What am I going to do?
And then you realize you need 11 more.
I need That's exactly right.
Right.
Red. I need the colors. Right.
And they got to have different colors.
You have the red, the freeborn red. There's a white one. There's olive green.
Right.
You got to have them all lined up.
But it's like a squirrel with nuts. You just need to have.
You
keep gathering nuts because winter's coming, and
that's right.
You could be out of nuts.
Just in case something happens.
Right. Exactly. Okay. Yeah. Well, I think you have a very understanding girlfriend.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
She's very understanding.
Now, when you were dating, did you pick her up in a different one each night?
It was interesting about that is I've been dating her for a while to where she started the problem.
Oh.
And this is where we had a conversation the other night, and she's like, I knew I shouldn't have been that supportive at the beginning of our relationship because I had a few then.
Yeah.
And then I drove around in a Jeep. And then I went to go look at a Land Cruiser, and I brought her for the first time when we first started dating.
Right.
And then she was real excited about it. She's like, I love the interior, and I love this, and this, and that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, you really like this? Well, then here you go. Look at this.
Yeah, well, it's like motorcycles. Girls love motorcycles while you're dating. Honey, you know, if you fall off that thing.
And you have 110 motorcycles?
Yeah, it's 163 here.
163?
Yeah. So we're somewhat in the same boat.
Do you have a favorite?
If I had a favorite, I wouldn't have all these motorcycles.
Yeah.
That's the interesting part.
So you get it.
Yeah. But my thing is when I crash one, I have something to ride while that one's being repaired.
In the shop,
See, I can crash 162 times, and I'm fine.
You still have that reliable motorcycle.
I still got that reliable motorcycle. Yeah. Okay, which one would you like to take for a ride today? Which one gets your juices flowing? Which one do you think is
I think, Jay, you'd like this one right here.
This one here?
Yeah.
I mean, I like them all. I mean, to me, it's funny because, as I said, they still feel like new cars to me. Because I was 38 years old when this came out.
Wow.
So, I mean, I remember, oh, it's a nice car, you know, and now that it's become collectible, it just sort of makes me smile that I'm old enough to see cars that I sort of ignored or didn't pay much attention to become collectible cars.
And I'm not putting you on the spot, but would you get one of these for your collection? Or is this just something that kind of, like you said, you're not a big four-wheel guy anyway.
I have my tank. Do you see my tank?
The tank cars.
The tank has, well, I have an actual tank.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's four-wheel drive, and it's fabulous for LA.
It'll
Plus, you have a 30 caliber machine gun, which you don't have here. The machine gun allows you to get through spaces. Oh, excuse me.
Yeah.
You know, the road rage disappears when you turn that turret and you aim it, and people just They become the
back
friendliest
down.
people in the world. Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah.
Touche.
Okay. Well, let's open the hood in this anyway, just
all right.
since this is the one we're going to be taking for a ride. This has almost the same interior as the earliest one.
That's right. Now,
Were they all cloth, or did they ever do leather?
no, they were all cloth.
Okay.
The earlier 60s had different kind of
Yeah.
interior, but
That looks like you've steam cleaned this, and
yeah.
I see you replaced the bottles again.
Yep.
Can you still get those from Toyota, or are those aftermarket?
You have to get them aftermarket.
Yeah.
The hardest thing to get are these caps.
Right.
And what stinks about them is that I had a new cap on this.
Right.
It flew off. Like it just they come off unless you duct tape it or
Right.
something. But this is the 3F engine.
Right.
Replace the 2F. It's got 155 horsepower.
How many liter? 4 liter?
It's a 4 liter. So the
Okay.
FJ60 is a 4.2. They went down to a 4 liter for this one.
So 4 liters about what? 265 cubic inches? I think that's
Something
about
like
right,
that,
something
yeah.
like that. Yeah. Okay. And obviously the fuel injection is much better.
Yep.
Well, nicely done. Okay. How many miles on this one?
This one's got 180, I think 181, which is the most I would have on a car.
Now, you said 180 was the most you have, so this one is
well,
1,000 miles
getting
over.
here, I think we crossed over, but yeah.
Okay.
This has got about 180, 181,000 miles on it, but they're original, they're well documented. I've got all the receipts from this is a 2-owner
Right.
car.
Well, you're on the forums and stuff. What's the Land Cruiser with the most number of miles you've heard about?
Oh, so these engines are bulletproof. You
Yeah.
can get into. I've seen people drive 500,000-600,000
Okay.
miles, and it turns into like they start bragging about it. They're like,
Right.
I haven't opened this engine, and I got 550,000
Right.
miles. But the engine will outlast the transmission in this model.
Okay. And is it Toyota transmission, or are they using some other?
Yeah,
Okay.
Toyota tranny.
Okay.
But
Very
yeah.
cool. All right, very good. Very good. Well, come on, let's take it for a spin.
All right.
Here we go. This goes down. That fit, where's that?
Yeah, right there is
Just
fine.
right there, okay. There we go.
Slam it.
Let's take it for a spin.
Keep the ignition.
Electric windows, the age we live in. You know what's funny about cars in this era? Actually, I like are thin doors. Modern
Yeah.
cars, the doors are so thick you get in and you're kind of here
Yeah.
because the door is so thick, you know?
Yeah, these are pretty thin.
And you realize 30 years ago, a long time ago.
I mean, I was in grade school when this came out.
Yeah.
There's something about these trucks that just make me get real fired up.
That's funny. Now, when you get in a modern Land Cruiser, like a brand new one, are you more impressed with that, or does this still feel like home to you?
This still feels like home. When I get into a modern one, it just feels like every other car.
Right.
You know, I mean, I'm sitting in a modern Land Cruiser, or is it a Lexus, or is it an Audi, or
Right.
they're all kind of starting to blend together nowadays.
Now, were these built in America, or were these built in Japan and sent over?
These, I believe, were built in Japan and sent over.
Okay.
They didn't start building them in America until the early 90s. I know
Okay.
the 4Runner and the Tercel
Right.
was one of the first.
So have you contacted Toyota? Have you talked to them, or you're just sort of...
I haven't done that yet.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to talk to them and you know, see if there's something there just to kind of, you know, I love the Land Cruiser. I'm a Land Cruiser guy.
What does it weigh, do you know? Is it
It
pretty
weighs
heavy?
about 4,200 pounds.
The Hellcat weighs that easy.
Oh, wow, so 4,200 pounds. But the Hellcat and the Dodge Challenger's got the big block V8s.
Well, that's 707 horsepower.
This is 155.
Right, yeah.
So I mean, we're in a moped essentially.
Right.
And it gets the same gas mileage as one of those Mopars.
Right.
10 miles a gallon, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's amazing what they've been able to get for better mileage with modern electronics and stuff.
I mean, growing up though, I was always in the back seat.
Yeah.
Going to Catholic school in a carpool. Yeah, you feel that?
It's all right. It's not bad.
No?
Not bad. No.
Be honest, Jay.
No, it's not bad at all, actually.
Okay.
Because, I mean, for if it was a Ford GT, I go, it's terrible.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's you know, it's exactly what it is. And this is a 4-speed.
4-speed automatic.
Right.
This will get you to the 80-mile-an-hour mark a lot easier than the FJ60. The FJ60 is just
Yeah.
it's going 60. And they only made this for 3 years in the United States.
Okay. I mean, only sold it for 3 years.
They only sold it for 3 years. Yeah, I mean, and the 89s are pretty much, the 1990s are pretty much made in 1989. I mean, they didn't sell a lot of 1990s.
Right.
So those are kind of the unicorn model.
Plus, this is pre-airbag, right?
Pre-airbag, pre-anti-lock brakes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that, to me, that's kind of classic. Once you start getting to ABS, and that's when it kind of turns more modern.
It's just funny, everything electronic just still has slide. You can feel a cable, you know, moves another cable.
Yeah. I mean, these even still have the choke. When you have to, in this cold day, you pull the choke and you got to start it.
Well, that's not a choke. On this, it's an enricher, I think. Because this is fuel injected.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. So the FJ60s have the choke.
Right,
But what is that? That's a throttle.
Yeah,
right?
that's to warm it up. Or you can use it as a very crude cruise control. But yeah, it's just to on a cold day, I guess you pull that, let it run a little bit. Or if you're running a power winch or something like that off the front,
got it.
You pull that out and rev the engine to keep the alternator feeding whatever
juice.
Electronic. Ride's very nice. So what does this have? Leaf springs in the back and
wrapped all 4 leaf springs and shocks. So this is the one with the old man Emu suspension.
Right.
The 2-inch lift. I try to keep them at stock height.
Right.
But it's the KO2s on this that really kind of complete the order, so to speak.
And KO2s, what are those?
The F. Goodrich all-terrain KO2 tires.
Oh, the tires.
31-inch.
Right.
Yeah. Or 33 if you're a off-roader guy.
Right.
All wrapped on factory rims.
Yeah.
But a lot of guys will put like you know, murdered out rims on these or whatever, and that's all good and stuff. But you know, I like that more on like an FJ40 or even an FJ60. The resto mods for me on these don't really make sense quite yet. I would rather resto mod a 69 Charger.
So do you just scour the junkyards looking for parts for these things? Are they getting harder and harder to find in junkyards?
Yeah. Well, not only are the parts harder, but oddly enough, Toyota makes a lot of parts already, like the tail lights. Toyota still makes them, some of the bumpers. So you can get a lot of factory parts, but for the most part, yeah, it's getting harder and harder to find. It's getting harder and harder to find the actual car. You know, they made so much of them, but
How many of these did they sell in 87, 89? Was there 100,000 sold here? Was it 5,000?
You know, in 1981, they hit the 1 million mark.
Well, that's 1 million cars altogether. But I'm just wondering how many of these, were these limited production, you know, or were they?
The 62s became limited production in 1989 and 1990.
Okay.
They sold way more FJ60s than they did the FJ62, obviously, because this was only in production for 3 years in the United States. But when people bought them, they didn't buy them with the intention to collect them.
Right.
These were the everyday, like how many
Workhorse.
station wagons do you see?
Right.
Yeah. You know, I mean, that's kind of the same. These are workhorse cars. So to find a good one, original owner or 2-owner car, is just getting harder and harder to find. And the back end of these things rust out.
Yeah. Are there a lot of guys doing what you do? Do you meet a lot of guys like that? Do you find yourself, you know, something is advertised in the paper, you get there and Larry's there ahead of you? You get a lot of that?
You know what's interesting? There's a lot of guys that I'll usually be the first guy to call because I'm a hunter. I like finding them. When I call them, it's a single owner or 2-owner car. They don't want to sell them to me yet.
Why?
Well, even if I want to, because then they're like, I don't know. So then I've got to, you know, they want to know like a Land Cruiser owner, a true Land Cruiser owner, when you know you got a good one, he wants to know who you are and what your story is and what you're going to do with the car.
But you don't sell them. You keep them.
Well, that's right. And if I do decide to sell it, it's usually because I've had it for a year or two. You know?
Right.
So for the most part, they're usually my trucks that I sell. But I do sell them. I sold one last month. Or if I meet somebody online or whatever that likes my pictures on Instagram and be like, look, I'm looking for an FJ62. I'm like, well, I guess I could get rid of one of them.
So when you sell them after you restore them, do you break even? Do you find you make money? Do you lose money?
Sometimes. I mean, right now it's just a hobby. I'm trying to get a business model behind it. I mean, at this point, and I've talked to a lot of, you know, guys, you know, that own shops that do just Land Cruisers, and the market's not there yet for the 62 to make the $10,000 profits.
Right.
FJ60s are kind of there, but nobody's really flipping these as much as the old classics,
Right.
because the price points almost aren't there, and if they do, they're just painting the hood, and then they're just giving it a clay wax. And
Any interest to Land Rovers? I mean, the
FJ40 or the Land Rovers, the
Land Rovers, 1950, 53, 54.
I love those.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We got one at the shop.
I see the one in the back. Yeah, is that a Series 2?
It might be a Series 1. I'm not sure. It's not mine. It's Bernard's.
Those are, if I could restore those, that would be fantastic. The problem with those is getting a good one is you're in 30 grand, right? Just to
I mean, you sit up high, you get a commanding view of the road, as they say.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not that.
Slowly but surely.
I was expecting it to kick down, but it really didn't. Oh, yeah, they got out for it.
Yeah.
But again, it's not supposed to be a highway
It's
cruiser.
not.
I mean, we're going 55. That's fine.
So, but if we were in the FJ60, we would. It just would be. It would be a maximum speed.
Right.
FJ60s are fun to drive around town, but on the highway, they're just not the.
Right. Let's see if we can actually pass the camera truck. Look at that.
Ready?
Look at that.
We're
moving. We're moving.
There we go. Not even 55. But see, that was a speed limit back then, right?
Every Japanese car should be able to outrun Godzilla. That's basically the idea. You should be able to, if the monster's coming. But it's hard to believe it's got 183,000 miles on it. I don't see any smoke or anything. It runs fine.
Oh no, this thing will get at least 300,000 miles out of it.
So do you do a lot of off-roading? Do you take trips and specifically to off-road with it?
Great question. I just got back from Utah. Actually, in this truck I took to Utah.
Yeah.
This handles great in Moab. A lot in Sedona. I have another FJ62 that I took off-road in Sedona and really took some hard hits on some trails. But it's funny is like when you're on off-road into Sedona and Moab, you'll see like the Wrangler pack. You'll see the C2s, and then you'll see it's almost like a pack of wolves. You'll be like, we don't belong over there,
Not our people.
That's not our people. And then of course you see a Land Cruiser, and then you guys are best friends.
Right. It goes all right. I just like how hurried and excited it gets when you step on it.
Just screams at you.
Yeah, just
okay.
And what is Old Man Emu anyway? Am I saying it right?
Yeah. Old Man Emu, OME for short, is an Australian company, and they sell a lot of things, but for the most part, for the Land Cruiser, they have a killer suspension setup, and they really dialed it in. They really figured out the right height and suspension for the Land Cruiser, and obviously many other four-wheel drive vehicles. But it fits these 60 series like a glove. FJ60 is one of the most complex suspensions, just like the FJ62. So there's not a lot of things that you can retrofit. You can't get the factory shocks anymore. Bilstein's another company that does really well. If you want that factory ride height, you go with Bilstein. If you want the 2.5 lift, it keeps it kind of factory stock looking, you go Old Man Emu.
What's the most common engine fault that they... head gaskets, water pumps?
Head gaskets in the FJ60, it's the carburetor and the intake. Getting those compressions right. The two biggest problems with the FJ60. Yeah, they have some issues, but it's a Toyota. They've got a reputation for going 300,000 plus miles.
Yeah.
That's what makes these a good collectibles, because you can also drive them daily
without
having to break your bank.
Did they sell these in Japan? I don't even know.
Yes, they did. A slightly different version.
Yeah. Because it seems like a really big car for Japan.
Yeah, they're actually really expensive in Japan because there are only a certain amount that are allowed to be licensed.
Right, and I imagine they tax you by the liter over there. Probably.
Oh, yeah, right.
Well, Brian, thanks for opening my eyes here. This is not a vehicle I would have thought was collectible. I mean, all vehicles are collectible, but just, as I said at the beginning of this interview, it's just so funny to me because I was 38 years old when these came out, and now I'm 68 years old, and it just makes me laugh that to a whole generation, these are cool. And, and it is very cool. I mean, it's basic, dependable engineering. Straight six, smooth, reliable, basic, beefy 4-speed automatic transmission, all metal, not a lot of electronics, not a lot of, Because modern cars, you know, you break that electronic module, that box, you're screwed. You're not using jumper wires to get around.
Right. So you're okay that we didn't get up to top speed? Like
No, it was okay.
Okay. Well, Jay, thanks for having me. Are you kidding me?
So if you're interested in one of these cars, go to the website. This is the man to talk to. He's the guy. Don't call me. I know nothing. Call him. Brian, thank you, my friend.
Thank you very much,
right.
Jay. Thank you so
I gotta
much.
do a little off-roading, 80s style. See you next week.
Mm-hmm.